What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Share Day with Kittens. I'm Kittens, and today I've got the amazing, incredible, talented, beautiful, hilarious, funny Alexandra Shipp on with me. You'll know Alex from the Barbie movie. She plays one of Margot Robbie's Barbie besties. She's also like the Nobel Prize winning Barbie and paramedic Barbie and I, a few of the other Barbies because they all, their vibes switch throughout the movie. But anyways, you know her from Barbie. You know her from Love, Simon. You know her as Storm in a bunch of the X-Men movies, like the young Storm, not the Halle Berry Storm. And honestly, like when she told me she was doing Barbie, like when she was filming it, because we've been friends for many, many years, like 5 or 7 years, something like that. When she told me she was doing it, I was like, wait, what do you mean you're doing a Barbie? I didn't even know about Barbie having a movie. So it's been a long awaited thing for me. And I was so excited to hear that it was coming out. So we actually recorded an episode a month before Barbie was released, and I was going to drop it the week the movie came out. So we had all this stuff discussing the themes and like all the meanings and patriarchy and gender and all that cool stuff. And then the strike happened, the actor strike. So I had to shelve the episode. And now that the actor strike is finally over, thank God, that was just like brutal to watch them have to be on strike for so long, the writers and the actors, which if you don't know about the writers and actors strike in the United States, they were striking for like basic things, like basic stuff, safety, pay, to be able to like have health care and put food on the table, like really basic necessary stuff. So they were on strike for many months, and now that it's over, we're like, we should do a fresh version here because so much has changed. So in today's episode, we get into everything about the strike, how that affected creatives as a whole, finding your self-worth and knowing what you deserve and being willing to say no and stand up for yourself and demand basic respect and not settling for anything that makes you feel like you're not worthy. We obviously get into a bunch of stuff around Barbie, which I'm so excited about, but how it affected culture, conversations around gender expectations in society, and how that relates to Alex and me about our own identity experiences, our hopes for the world, and learning to say no and how empowering that can be. And also mountain goats. Before we get into today's episode, though, please make sure you like and subscribe and follow and do all the things wherever you're listening to this. It really, really helps. If you want to rate things, cool, love that. You can also check out the She Her They website, sheherthey.com. There's a bunch of cool stuff on there, like playlists, links, mailing lists to sign up for, all that fun stuff. Instagram is at I am Kittens or at She Her They. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get into today's episode with Alex Shipp. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I woke up early. I made a coffee. I hung out with my dogs. Today is a good day. It's starting out as a great day.
That's strong. That's a good way to start. It's a little
Yeah.
earlier than, or I was up a little earlier than usual, but I'm like, I feel like a full human already, so I'm like, okay, I feel like I've got a productive day ahead of me. But thank you
100%.
thank you so much for doing this. We actually recorded this prior because you were in
Yep.
Barbie, which we're going to talk about obviously, but we recorded it a month before Barbie was released, and we were going to drop it the week of the Barbie release.
Yep.
And then the strike happened, and that kind of changed everything. So we're going to talk about the strike. We're going to talk about Barbie. We're going to talk about gender stuff. We're going to talk about all the fun things. So
Yay.
rewinding all the way. How was the Barbie experience for you? Because I think, oh, fuck. I'm sorry. Introduce yourself. Can you tell us your
Oh, snap.
name? I get it. I get all excited ahead of myself. Can you introduce yourself? Name, pronouns, how you identify, all that good stuff.
Yeah. My name is Alexandra Shipp, and I identify as she, her, and sometimes they aesthetically, depending on the day. Sometimes I don't feel gender in any way, shape, or form. And then other days I'm like, oop, she might be wearing heels.
I mean, gender is, we all know it's made up. And one thing, actually, you told
Hmm.
me this before I even saw Barbie. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I completely get it. But you were saying that on set, um, somebody brought it up, or you guys were talking about it a lot, how Barbies don't have genitals, and the whole
Yeah.
like universe of Barbie is deciding how you want to show up in the world and performing that and putting that on like an outfit or just, reflecting who you are that day. And I thought that was so
Yeah.
interesting. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that gender came up a lot when it came to all of the actors talking on set. There there were moments where in speaking with Hari Neff, who's a trans woman, you know, she has every right to be there.
Mhm.
She has every right to be standing in that. It was so interesting seeing the controversy after the movie came out, just based around her existence, because it was such bullshit.
Yeah.
Because Barbies don't have genitals. You take the clothes off of a Barbie, and you got a smooth little blob
Little mound.
and a little mound. And it's kind of funny. Even Kate McKinnon's like, I want to see what that fleshy, mound is like. And it's just so fucking true. Barbies don't have genitals. Barbies have presentation. It's how they present, right? Um, and I always saw myself as both, and I think I explored my sexuality through Barbies a lot too. Like, I
Mhm.
remember one time my dad was like, it's time for dinner, and so I left my Barbie scissoring in bed,
Yeah.
and he looked at that and he was like,
Hello?
it's time for dinner. Like, it's funny, when it came out to my family, they were like, yeah, yeah,
We
we
know.
know,
Yeah.
we know. Just like, I thought I was such a good actor, and it turns out I'm not. But I think in like my real everyday life, like, I can't lie, I can't hide my face in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. Like,
Yeah.
when people say that actors are good liars, it's such a false narrative.
Mm,
Like, I can't lie because I can't fix my face. I'll just be like,
right. Yeah, like,
I love it.
mm. I've always wondered that too because I'm like, you guys have to really, you have to professionally become somebody else and exhibit other feelings. So I always wondered how that actually
Mhm.
reflects in real life. Like, how do you act as yourself when you're not feeling something, you know?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that that, like, say for instance with Barbie, Greta wanted us to bring a certain level of naturalness and humanity to the roles. She wanted us to kind of give them in essence, that wasn't just like, hi Barbie, what is over there,
Yeah.
like. And and I think that that's kind of what got all of us the job, because she had said, like, there were a lot of people who were playing it plastic, and you guys kind of played it a little bit more
Right.
grounded. And she was like, and that's what I wanted for this. And don't get me wrong, we can do it, we can get there, but at the same time, like, there was a humanity that was brought to that. And I think little pieces of myself, the people who know me, are always like, I saw you for a split second,
Yeah.
and I'm like pissed about it, but also I'm like, you can't stop fully being yourself in the
Yeah.
choices that you make, but it's really fun to challenge yourself. And I think I give a little piece of myself to every role in some way, shape, or form. And I think that every role gives itself a piece to me. Like,
Mm.
after Barbie, I fell in love with the color pink.
Mm.
And I'd always rejected the color pink because
Right.
I was like,
It's
I
expected.
don't like that. It's expected. It's super femme. Like, I, my whole life, have been trying to present this idea of femininity in
Mhm.
order to be accepted, digestible, hireable.
Right.
There's
Right.
so many aspects of it. If I'm not feminine, well, I'm not going to get the lead actress. I'm gonna get like her, like, kind of like witchy best friend, and like,
Right.
it really does typecast you.
Mhm.
And after Barbie, I started to really dive into my femininity. I came back and I painted my living room pink.
Yeah.
Obsessed. As
I
you know,
need to
like
see this.
all my walls have been white, and I came
Yeah.
through and I like painted my bathroom, and
Mhm.
I painted my living room pink, and I painted my office green, and I was just so enamored by all of like the brightness and
Right.
vivaciousness of the set that I wanted to bring that home with me,
Mm.
especially when it came to the color pink. And
Yeah.
I think that as a society, what I've found is people reclaiming pink and allowing that to be feminine, allowing that to be masculine,
Yeah, it
allowing
can be
that to be
anything.
gender neutral. Yeah.
That was one of the most amazing things after the movie came out for weeks. Any theater you were near, there's just a sea of people in pink coming in and out. The Grove, I'm like for weeks, weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
So I've never seen so much pink in my life and worn in so many
Yeah.
different ways. I'm like, we have people femming it up, we have people butching it up, we've got sparkles, we've got pink camo. Like there's so much happening. And,
Yeah.
like, even before, because I went on the Pride float, the Barbie Pride float with
Yeah.
you this year, which was so fun,
Yes.
and I, like, have that Dua Lipa song just permanently in my brain forever because I played so much, which it's so good, but I didn't have an ounce of pink. Granted, I wear a
Mm.
lot of black, I love neutrals, but I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I need pink, I need to, like, embody something," and so I went out and I, like, found this pink shirt, and I had my whole, like, gay auntie at the country club vibe with a visor.
You slayed. You
I
ate.
I was like, "This is like I like this. I like this," and
Yeah.
I feel cute, I feel powerful, but I still feel like me, and I felt like before
Mhm.
that, I had really, like, had it deep in my mind that, like, certain things I can't wear or I can't do because it's not me, and
Mhm.
learning that you can make anything adaptable or like adjustable to you, like your version of it, your version of you in
Yeah.
pink, your version of you being like femme. Like my when I'm trying to femme it up and I want to feel sexy, it's gonna look very different than maybe some super duper feminine girl who's in like a tight dress with the highest heels and like the whole and the
Yeah.
fashion. Like
You remember the bandeau dresses with like the chunky
yeah,
heels at the
yeah.
curb? I did
Oh
it. I did
God.
it. I totally agree, but like now I feel like people are defining their own version of gender presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that comes one with how they feel emotionally or physically that day, but two from creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we are all presenting is completely like subjective to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Like when I first came out, I was like, she's butch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was
Everybody
like
goes through
really
that
diving in.
moment. Like
I dived into being a dyke.
yeah.
I went full on, and my brothers loved it because I have an older and a younger brother. They loved it because they could come over and steal my clothes because I had
Right.
pants that fit them, and
Yeah.
like they were like flying vintage. And they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna come and steal some pants and a t-shirt," and they're like, "This jacket looks great on me," and it fits them perfectly, but it's like sexy and baggy and daddy, and like I
Yeah.
really dove into that. And Barbie really changed my life in a way that like now I want to find a healthy medium. And
Mhm.
that's why I say they them, because not every day am I wearing makeup, you know? It's just when the fuck I want to,
Right.
you know? And not that that is definitive of gender, but like, you know, sometimes I just want to look like me specifically in that day. And my best friend, they'll come over and they'll be like, they are giving daddy today, and like that's so affirming.
Yeah.
Do you know, like
Yeah.
I feel seen when I am not giving what people expect me to give. I'm
Right.
giving what I want,
Right. And I
and
mean,
it's giving that.
it's the gender expectations that we have in our society. We think it's this
Mhm.
is what femininity looks like, and then having that projected on us versus us picking our version of that and having that
Yeah.
affirmed externally, it's a very different experience. And I think I don't know
Yeah.
about you, and I mean I'm sure you have an experience like this, but growing up especially playing with Barbies, but also just the media we consume and how we're told what femininity is, how girls and women are supposed to behave, how men and boys are supposed to behave. All these things are kind of,
Yeah.
you know, taught to us because it's not inherent. Like you don't there's not like a caveman that grew up and was like, "Oh, I like the color blue." Like these things are all taught.
Yeah.
So growing up, you have all these expectations of how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to look, and you try to kind of fit those molds, and it maybe doesn't always fit right and feels a little uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
there's always a moment. Like for me, my moment was when I realized I was gay. That dropped one of the big expectations. I was like, "Oh, okay, so I don't like men." And so that narrative falls. And then when that wall fell, everything fell. And I was like, "Oh, I don't have to date people that are like this or look like this. I don't have to dress and present a certain way. My hair doesn't have to be long. I don't have to wear dresses." Like all of the
Mhm.
expectations started to crumble when that one fell. And I felt
Yeah.
so free. And I had a similar, I wasn't butch, but like I cut my hair really short. I had the shaved side and the
Yeah.
mullet, and I looked, I was doing a lot until
Yeah.
I came back down and I was like, all right, tried all the things. And now I know what is really me. So
Yeah.
do you feel like you had a moment that was kind of like that expectation, that one expectation fell and then the rest was like dominoes?
1000%. The I think I was 25 or 26, and I was like in a relationship with a man who expected a lot of femininity from me. He really, really expected that. And I just wasn't giving it to him. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, fuck you. I'm not gonna wear 6-inch heels. That hurts. You
Yeah.
know? Like I'm not gonna beat my face every day. That sucks, you know? And I'm gonna steal your basketball shorts and like your baggy sweater because that feels comfortable to me. That is
Yeah.
something that I can work with. Um and when I finally got out of that relationship, thank mother goddess, I started to really be honest with myself. That's when I started dating women, not just secretly falling in love with them or like having one night stands and being like, oh, I really liked that, but like not actually, like I was like, I'm gonna date women. I'm gonna fall in
Intentionally.
love with women.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it intentionally because now I have the freedom to actually do it.
Yeah.
Um, and my hair was really short because I had just shaved it and felt the liberation of rejecting the idea that my hair defines who I am
Mhm.
as an individual, whether that makes me look masculine or feminine or what have you. Like it, that was like, I guess, like the first step into that.
Right.
So my hair was really short and I was like really living in my body. And, I was, growing out my leg hair and my armpit hair and like falling in love with myself, I think,
Mhm.
was what it really was. And telling myself like who you are and who you are naturally, what comes out of your body, your hair, like all of it is good enough.
Mm.
And that was so radical to me because society says wax your legs, wax
Yeah.
your pussy, wax your armpits, wear something tight. And I'm like, oh, I'm rejecting all of that, and I'm just living in my skin, and I'm dressing how I feel that day, and all of this is good enough.
Yeah.
And when it comes to love, like someone who really loves every piece of you, every fact of you, and is not holding expectations about how smooth your legs should be,
Yeah.
or how much makeup you wear, or the types of clothing that you wear. They just want you.
Yeah.
What a concept that just me is enough. It
Mhm.
was crazy. And I really felt the safeness within, my first and second queer relationship of just like there was just a freedom to be
Right.
exactly who I am and have that be enough.
I think about that kind of often because I'll have a nightmare that I wake up and I'm with a man, And not because, like, I hate men, but because I'm just so gay, and I know that the me being with a man would mean me not being myself. It would mean me being uncomfortable, me trying to shove myself into these molds and expectations that I've just completely shattered and left so far behind. So that is the
Yeah.
nightmare of it, is waking up and having to be in this character all day, 24/7 around
Mhm.
people, and
Mhm.
never being able to
Mhm.
just be me. And,
Yeah.
so few people have, especially women, so few people have those opportunities to just be, and men. Actually, that I feel like that's something that's really touched on in Barbie, with which I thought was so interesting, how they went about
Yeah.
portraying how patriarchy affects women and men negatively. And
Yeah. It's definitely, Ken has just as much of a coming of age
totally,
storyline as Barbie does.
totally.
When he realizes that he doesn't have to perpetuate this idea of masculinity, and he doesn't have to perpetuate this idea of hierarchy
Mhm.
based on gender, which is hilarious because they have no private parts
Yeah.
and they acknowledge that multiple times.
Yeah.
um you see an awakening, and I know for a fact that there are men out there who have that awakening. They're
Mhm.
my brothers, they're my friends. I still date men, so I and you know these men have to low-key be a lesbian, and they exist. But you know I see these men who aren't perpetuating these stereotypes, and i
Mhm.
and and I think it's important for us as individuals who float within that ether to hold space and allow them space within it, you know what I mean,
And
because
encourage.
that's how you create equality.
Totally.
That's true feminism. You know, if feminism isn't just men suck, feminism is we all want the same thing. We all
Yeah.
want peace. We all want love. We all want acceptance. And we all want equality.
Mhm. Mhm. I noticed too, when there's cis hetero men who are dating queer women, 99% of the time when I meet them, as long as it's, they're not some random douchebag that's like, yeah, I want to see her make out with a girl. Like, there's,
Right.
those exist. But for the most
Yeah.
part, anytime I've met like a boyfriend of a friend of mine, they have kind of deconstructed ideas of gender expectations and masculinity themselves, because
Mm,
when they're actually honest about what it is to date a queer woman or a non-binary person
yeah.
or somebody who's not your standard issue cis het female, they have to kind of deconstruct a bit, and that alters how they move, how they operate, how they converse, their own self-awareness, that I feel like men aren't
Yeah.
encouraged to have unless they go
Hmm.
through an experience that either demands or encourages that. So it's
Hmm.
really interesting to see, and I love that that was part of the storyline. It was literally like you said, it was like an equal kind of angle.
Yeah.
It was so cool seeing that, and having representation for so many people. And also,
Hmm.
I mean, Barbie alone having so many different like, which Barbie were you? Like a writer, or you were a writer, right?
I was a writer. I was an author. Yeah.
Yeah, like
But I
there's
also was a paramedic. Yeah, because Barbie can be anything. So
yeah.
it's like I was a paramedic, I was an author, I was just like kicking it on the beach. Like Barbie really can be anything and everything
Mhm.
all at the same time. And I love what that represents for young kids because we were able to play with that. You know, we were on set and one of the Barbies was like, "Who plays with you?" And I
Mhm.
had to take a beat and really kind of meditate on that. Who plays with me? And I came to the conclusion that 8-year-old Alex plays with Barbie Alexandra.
Why?
Um, and she lives out her life. Growing up, I did want to be a writer, and I wanted to be a poet because I realized that my mom was reading my journal. And
Oh.
so I started writing poetry. I know. She's crazy and I love her
I
and
mean, I
like
feel like a
vibes.
lot of
But
moms do
like,
that. Nosy moms.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I hated it
Yeah.
because I was journaling.
Yeah.
And she was, and like, really, what's an 8-year-old getting into? What's a 10-year-old getting into? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I started encrypting my feelings and my emotions through poetry.
Mhm. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and I
Like
just
you're on code.
recently found, oh, oh yeah, for sure. And I recently found a binder that had like all of my poems in it. And I was like,
Oh,
it's so cringe, but it's also
so
so
sweet.
beautiful. And so like when I was told that I was going to be a Nobel Prize winner for literature, and then one of the Barbies asked who plays with you, I'm like, little me plays with me.
Mhm.
And little me has achieved something really beautiful and wonderful. And little me was figuring out her sexuality, and little me was figuring out who she wanted to be and loved portraying different versions of herself, and then started in theater when she was 10 and fell in love with that. But you know, it was little Alex who was playing with Barbie Alexandra. That's how I got to it.
That's so cute. That must have been such a nice
Yeah.
kind of like inner child exercise, like a reverse inner child therapeutic
Yeah.
moment. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Breaking it down and deconstructing it for the sake of a character. Like,
yeah.
that's so actor. So actor.
What part of yourself and maybe even younger versions of yourself did you bring to your character?
Um, so my character was low key figuring out whether or not she's in love with Barbie Margot.
Mm,
Um, and you know, I think it's one of those things. It was like that gay trifecta of, do I want to be you? Do I want to fuck you? Do I want to kill you? Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, it was like, it's like, I don't know, because you represent something that I aspire to have, to someone that I aspire to be, and you're too perfect, and I just need to like squeeze you so hard that you stop breathing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that I was kind of perpetuating a little bit of that, where she loves her, she supports her, and she's
Obsessed with
trying to
her.
figure out, yeah, and is like obsessed with her. And also, Greta really wanted all the Barbies to kind of have like a hive mind mentality. And I don't know if you've ever dated someone who like looks like you. I have. It's like, it's so egotistical. Um, but like, it's a vibe. And so I think there was
It's a
kind of an
common gay
essence of that.
thing. I feel like it's a very common
Yeah.
gay like trope to be like, are they sisters or are they dating? We can't tell. Yeah.
Yeah, and like making out in public makes people uncomfortable because they
Yeah.
think we're like related. And like,
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, it's funny, it's egotistical, it's like, what?
Mhm.
Um, but you know, I think that there was an essence of that too, to what I brought to the character, was that even though I don't, you know, obviously I'm not in love with someone who looks like me. I don't look like Margot
Yeah.
fucking Robbie. Um, like, gag if I did, like I'd be booking. But like, I think that I was attracted to the my Barbie was attracted to the hive mentality, the you are a piece of me, I am a piece, you're an extension of me, I'm an extension of you. And that questionable love, you know what I mean? Like, I've had friendships that we were definitely in love with each other.
Yeah.
And I know it, like looking back at it, because obviously, like,
Yeah.
I'm not friends with those people low
Yeah.
key anymore. Like, now we're more acquaintances, but
Mm.
you're like obsessed with them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're literally everything but, you know,
Yeah.
and it's so gay.
It it's such a funny
And not knowing.
experience. And looking back
Yeah.
on it, like, I had that in 8th grade. I remember the first moment that I saw and locked eyes with this girl who ended up becoming my best friend for, like, a year and a half, 2 years of middle school. I was
Yeah.
so it was one of those, like, slow like, she looked up from the sink in the locker room and had just, like, washed her face and her ha I was like, "Oh my god," like, she was so beautiful, and I was so obsessed with her, and we had this very like, we would hold hands and, like, sleep over and snuggle, and it was very much like my mom would be like, "You guys stop doing that. People are gonna think you're lesbians, hee hee." And I didn't even that thought didn't cross my mind. I was just like, "No, she's my best friend and I just love her so
Yeah.
much and I just want to like be on her and like we're so bonded." And now looking back, I was like, "Fuck, I was so in love with that girl. Oh my god."
I know, and it doesn't register until,
Yeah.
like, until adulthood, and, like, yeah, I was such a I was the perv at the sleepover, let's just put it that way. I was like, "Should we, like,
Practice making out.
practice kissing?"
I was
So, like,
nervous for that. I was like, "They're gonna think I'm weird. I'm just gonna sit here and like be a fucking weirdo."
I'd be like, "Look, you like Kyle. And if you want Kyle to be your boyfriend, you're going to have to kiss Kyle. So let's like practice kissing so that when you kiss Kyle, he thinks you're like a really good kisser. And then you guys will like fall in love and get married."
Right. I'm here to help you as your friend.
It's a little predatory, but I don't take it that way because I was a kid and we
Yeah, you
were
don't know.
discovering. You don't know. It
Yeah.
would be weird if I was still like doing that with 10-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where it's bad.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
where it's fucking weird. So
yeah.
like
But
as
it's
an
good to
adult, I'm
experiment.
like, oh, yeah, I was just experimenting. And so as an adult, I look back at that stuff and I'm like, it's so funny that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just I just thought that that was normal.
But you know what? That's actually a really interesting fact is it it is normal. And I think
Yeah.
if we lived in a different society where it wasn't a whole thing to have to come to terms and then have to come out and have to like have this whole thing and it was just allowed to be. Like you were just allowed
Mhm.
to be and there weren't any, stories and media and parents and society telling us, well, girls like boys, so that's it. And
Yeah.
this is what girls look like. If that was
Yeah.
completely out of the picture and we were just in this little vacuum of existence, I do wonder if we would have realized, like, I really have these strong feelings for this person, and like it's really nice, and I love them, and
Mhm.
love and feelings of like adoration or attraction, they're genderless, so that you're
Yeah.
able to just let that be, and maybe things would have organically kind of gone through their own evolution instead of, oh no, well that's my best friend, like that
Yeah.
kind of wall that comes down in your brain as a kid. I really wonder
Mhm.
what that would be like. And I had an experience recently with a family member and their child who I hadn't had a talk about my identity with yet. And I didn't know if she knew, but I wanted to make sure like I didn't say anything that, might offend somebody or might be crossing a bound. I just wanted to talk to the family member first before I address anything with the kid.
Yeah.
So they're asking about my partner and, "Oh, is that your like you guys are like best friends, right? Like sisters?" And I'm like,
Mm.
No. Like and I've not had to deal with that kind of questioning before because all of my friends and people in my life who do have kids, other family members who have
Mhm.
kids, it is taught to them young that queer people exist, and if you have a partner, like the relationships and all these things can look all these different ways, so it's not even a what are they question, it's just they're
Yeah.
registering, oh, these two people, like they hold hands and they are, affectionate with each other and they're close, and that
Yeah.
okay, that's love. I'm categorizing that in my brain as those are people that love each other. And then there's
Yeah.
people that don't love each other romantically, and that's how it's categorized versus gay, straight, this, that, these things. It's just like
Yeah.
gender, just have everybody's a human and they show up
Yeah.
the way that they do. Relationships,
Yeah.
they're just two people who, love each other, attracted, whatever, or not,
Mhm.
and that's it. But I just like I wish we
It
could
it
start that for everybody, for
I
every
know, I know. And it's funny because like for example, my mom, she was born in the 60s. She a baby boomer,
Mhm.
you know? And a lot of the conversation when it comes to people from that generation is like, well, they're not multiple, they're not plural. So why are they? And I find it so interesting because they claim to be educated. And they claim to be adaptable, but for some reason they're stuck on this. And when I brought the first non-binary person I did home to my mom. They weren't the first one, but it was the first one that I brought home.
Mhm.
Because I was madly in love with them.
Mm.
I talked to my mom and I was like, they them,
Yeah.
they them,
Hammer it in.
address them as they them.
Yeah.
I was like, if you slip up, correct yourself and keep moving. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Mhm.
That's not what this is about. They them. And I love this person. I'm in love with this person, and I can't wait for you to meet them because
Yeah.
it takes me a while to introduce someone that I'm dating
Right.
to my family. They got to be someone I expect to be around for a while. Otherwise, like I'm
What's
chilling.
the point? Yeah.
And they came over, and my mom had it was like a little dinner party. My mom had a friend, and her friend unknowingly we misgendered my partner. My mom goes, they them.
Mom.
And I could cry just thinking about it. I could cry just thinking about it right now. It meant so much to me. It meant so much to my partner.
Mm.
Um, and I'm like, fuck anyone who says that they can't.
It's not
It does not hurt you. It's not harming you. And if that's what makes them comfortable, then just say it.
yeah.
Just say it. How
You
does that
felt
hurt you?
like
You know?
you felt do you think The Rock's name is The Rock? Like, no. And no one's like, "No, that's Dwayne Johnson." Like, people call him The Rock because
Yeah.
that's what he goes by and that's what he likes and
Yeah.
that's just what it's been.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
no one questions it. Like, you got nicknames for
Yeah.
all kinds of people in your life. My cats, I call them 75 different names. Who doesn't have a million pet names for their animals? Whatever it is, like,
100.
you have the skill set to be able to
It's not
call
hard.
somebody, but yeah, it's not hard. And
It's
especially
really not
having
hard.
people who are from those generations and like if older people can figure it out, people that are younger can fucking figure it out. Like,
It's about empathy and
yeah.
acceptance. It's really about that, and I think that I have had some really hard-hitting conversations with family members and acquaintances, and they're like, "Well, why do I have to do what you want? You're forcing me to do what you want." And I'm like, "It's not forcing if you love someone
Yeah.
or if you want to make someone feel safe."
Also, you have
Like
a choice. You have a choice, but the choice is between do you want to be somebody who makes people feel uncomfortable, invalidated, unsafe, and unseen? Or do you want to be
triggered.
somebody, yeah, or do you want to be somebody who comes to people with compassion, love, humanity, validation, and care?
Mhm.
Like those
Yeah.
are your choices. So, if that's on you at the end of the day. No one's
Yeah.
forcing you to do anything. But I'm not going to force you to be a piece of shit. That's your choice.
Period. And there is the difference between right and wrong, and I consistently challenge the ideas of what is right and what is wrong, especially when it comes to um queerness or gender. Who the fuck came up with these rules, and why are we still following them?
Also, they change. Like
They
every
change.
generation, they're changing.
Yeah.
How what is it like 100 years ago? Even like
Yeah.
baby boys were being put in dresses, and then 200
Yeah.
years ago, we've got guys wearing heels, wigs, and ruffles. Like
Like,
things.
and they were eating, and they were wearing makeup. The women were wearing makeup. They
Yeah.
were.
Shit changes all the time. So being like, it's
Yeah.
been like this forever. No, it fucking has not. It has not.
Mm-mm.
Like open a history book,
Mm-mm.
do a tiny
Yeah.
bit of reading, and you'll see.
Yeah. Trans people are not new. It's not a new concept. It's not a new idea. Gay
No.
people is not like some radical thing that popped up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like these people, we all have existed for millennia, and it's like, do whatever the fuck you want. But what I thought was really beautiful was that my mom knew how much I loved this person and wanted to meet them, get to know them, and love them just as much as I did.
Mhm.
And that started with wanting to make them feel comfortable
Right.
and accept their pronouns as who they fucking are.
Mhm.
It's possible to do.
So, Barbie came out some months ago. What was that? July, and we're in
July,
July, and we're in November now. So I
wild.
wonder, which is crazy. I'm like, the year's over. It's like it's 2030 now, I guess. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But y'all went on strike literally like the week it came out, and nobody was allowed to talk about anything, post anything, share anything. It was like fucking shut your mouth and, don't mention a thing you've done, which
It
I
was
imagine.
debilitating. Trust me.
Yeah, I imagine, because I feel like would you say this is like the biggest movie you've done so far? Like the biggest role you've been in, or
Hands down,
production?
it's the biggest, like in the sense that it's the most popular movie I've ever done, and it's the biggest job in the sense that I've never been in a movie that made $1 billion
Yeah.
in the first month.
Crazy. It's crazy. But then to not be able to fucking share about that in such an exciting time, like I would
Yeah.
feel so insane. How did you get through that? How did you navigate that? And also, did you find some kind of comfort in the community of actors who are all and writers who were all striking and also having to be silent at the time? How did you guys all deal?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to work a job at the top of the year. So when I got back to LA, the writers were on strike. So I was there in solidarity. When I can, my boots are on the motherfucking ground.
Mhm.
And so especially for causes that I stand for.
Mhm.
And so I was out there with my sign, and I was talking to writers, and I was like, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need? What's the type of art you're trying to create? And a little insight into being an actor: when you get an audition, you do the audition, and you may meet the producer, you may meet the director. In today's day and age, you may meet the casting director. You're really just submitting a tape, which is a whole other story.
Oh,
Because I love
oh,
going
go
into a
into a
room
room?
and like,
That's not
rarely do you go into a room. A lot of casting directors moved out of LA.
what the
So
fuck? Oh,
I know,
that's
because
weird.
they don't have to be here. I know. But that's our day and age, right? COVID really showed that they didn't need to be in
Right.
LA. And I was like, um, but you never meet the writer.
Mhm.
And you might meet the writer, they might come visit on set if they're allowed to. And that's really like for a day, you know? The most hands on writer I ever worked with was Simon Kinberg on X-Men. And he
Mhm.
was there every day. He was also a producer, and it's Simon fucking Kinberg, right? But like all of these other writers, they didn't have the opportunity to do that. And there's only so many in a room, and all of that, all these things that they were demanding. Um, and then, we started striking, the actors struck, and that's when a wave of people, it was so beautiful to see how many people really started showing up, because now we ain't working. So now
Yeah.
we can show up, and we are showing solidarity. And, this conversation isn't just about money. It's
Yeah.
about your turnaround, which is how much time in between days. Sometimes you get a 10-hour turnaround. Sometimes you get a 12-hour turnaround. It's about turnaround. It's about when they feed us. It's about when they feed our background. It's about when they are giving us a tent because it's raining or snowing on set. Like, how do you,
Oh
there's
my god.
someone in the room that is protecting you when you are having a sex scene. Like, it's all of these things. It's all of these things about protecting. But what I found, which wasn't intentional, was that I got to meet some really great artists that I wanted to work with.
Mhm.
And I met women, I met people of color, I met people who were extremely talented that I just hadn't heard of. because they're
Mm,
not allowed on set and all an X, Y, of Z, X,
right.
Y, and Z.
Why do you think that? What is there a
I
reason they're
think
not allowed
that
on set? Like, do you think they wanted to kind of keep a separation, or it was just the way it is to keep
I think
sets
they
straight?
do. I think they do. I'm not too sure about why they keep them on, why they don't let them on set, because I do mostly film, and so the writer can come and visit, but
Mm,
they're, like I said, they're not hands on all
right.
there every day. That is a rarity and a privilege for an actor to have, because I want to
Mhm.
meet these writers and I want to talk to
Yeah.
them about their idea of my backstory and what I came up with, and like be like, oh yeah, I was like, she was an orphan, and he's like, oh, I thought she was an orphan. Things
Yeah.
like that are really great. But I think that it's a way to control the narrative. And what I found was, instead of waiting for a role that I've been dying to play, I'm speaking with these writers. They're extremely talented. They went to some of like the greatest schools, you know what I mean? Um, and they're like, what kind of roles do you want to play? I can write that for you. I
Mm,
can develop that with you. So I can come up with these things. I'm also in a position where I could greenlight an indie. I could get a little bit of cash. We could make this, you
mm,
know. Moonlight was made for a couple hundred thou, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure. I forget.
whatever.
But you know what I
Less
mean?
than yeah. Yeah.
And like, I'm like, we could create our own art and then be in collaboration with the studios, instead of the studios saying, you know what, you would be right for. I'm
Right.
like, you know what, this studio would be great for this movie, this production
Right.
company would be great for this movie. And I have my artistic integrity, and I get to be a part of the creation and the collaboration. And that's kind of what this strike has shown me.
Yeah.
The strike has shown me that i have I have worth. I have people that I want to collaborate with. I am very much so, I act for my crew. I work for my crew. I want to see equality and my crew taken care of. I'm like, okay, you're handing me a plate. What about them? Okay, we're in a hot field and you're handing me a glass of water. What about them? You're holding an umbrella for me. Don't hold a fucking umbrella for me. I can hold my own umbrella. Get them umbrellas. Like,
Mhm.
how people are treated really affects me.
Mhm.
And um and so I think that with this strike, that's what it's taught me. That was really long-winded, and I'm so sorry. I love you.
No.
I talked a lot on that.
No, no, I think it's so important because at the end of the day, having an awareness and being able to kind of find self-worth and learning how to say no and when something is not enough and when something
Mhm.
is not appropriate and when you know that you deserve more and the people around you deserve more and you're willing
Yeah.
to stand up for that even if it means like maybe you can't pay your rent or put food on the table for a few months, which unfortunately I
Yep.
know some people dealt with, which is fucked up. But
Terrible.
which but being able to do that and coming out of it now, having, things kind of back up and running, or it's like tentatively the strike's over, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, having this kind of newfound empowerment to say no, stand for what you know you and your peers and colleagues deserve.
Mhm.
It's so empowering because I think we all have this, especially in the creative industry, but for anyone who is sort of in charge of their own career versus people who are maybe going a more traditional like corporate route or something. I think there's a
Mhm.
big fear of saying no or taking any moment to pause or letting anything just be for a minute because there's a fear
Mhm.
of what if I lose my momentum? What if I never work again? What if people don't like me anymore? What if people blacklist me? What if, they don't whatever, all the what ifs cause this
Mhm.
fear and cause us to take shit and settle. Which I'm
Yeah.
sure that especially the timing of the strike happening, like biggest movie you had happened, which I'm sure that's like a big momentum moment and so exciting and you
Mhm.
want to like ride that shit and they're like, sit down, sit
Yep.
down. And you're like,
Yep.
okay, I know, like, gotta do this and it's
Yeah.
gonna be good in the end. But
And
like,
the universe, like my higher power, my mother goddess, the universe is a fucking comedian.
mm,
And sometimes I gotta just laugh with it. And sometimes I gotta just laugh at the situation. It's also a really tough time in our world right now.
Yeah.
And people are scared and I am scared and I'm praying every day for freedom and liberation and peace. And it's a really scary time right now. And so now that I get a chance to promote Barbie, I also slide in some other stuff that's a little political.
It's kind of a brilliant move. It's kind of a brilliant move. And brave.
I'm kind of riding that wave, and maybe that's where, that was a piece of some silly higher plan. It was the download that I got,
Mhm.
but I think that Barbie came out in a really beautiful time. We in our world, our entire world, not just our society, are in an awakening.
Mhm.
We're waking up and we're demanding what's right and what's ours. Um,
Totally.
and I think it's so beautiful. We're challenging structures that have kept us, oppressed and in lack in a lot of ways, and we're demanding it, and that's not easy. That comes with like so much, pain. It is really hard to be vulnerable enough to say no, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that for me right now, I'm in a place where I'm just saying no. I'm saying no to people's expectations of me. I'm saying no to stuff that does not serve me. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. But like that's
Mhm.
just what else am I gonna do? Am I
Yeah.
gonna be upset? I'm listening to my gut. I'm connected to my higher power, and she's guiding me. I'm just
Mhm.
vibing. I'm like, oh, we're going here today.
It always ends up working out. It always ends up working out if you can really tune into what and be honest about what feels right for you and what sparks joy and what brings you safety and wherever the clarity is, just going that direction.
Hmm.
Then you're even if things may feel a little rocky for a minute or a little questionable, you still have some kind of guiding light to go towards. And
Yeah,
at the end of the day, wherever you end up, at least you know you're somewhere that you're meant to be and you feel good about it versus staying somewhere that's stagnant, doesn't make you feel good, brings your vibes down, makes you feel unsafe, doesn't validate who you are, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, it's about like chasing what's authentic, what feels right, what makes you feel good. The rest,
yeah.
fuck it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question for you and then I'm going to let you go. Um
Okay.
love this question. It's my favorite one.
Okay.
What is your dream creative zone? This is going to be wherever you may go in your head when you're meditating, or if you could
Hmm.
make the most magical place ever to go and write or work on music or, do whatever makes you feel grounded and inspired. What does that look
Yeah.
like? No rules about science or reality or anything.
I feel like I would be deep in the jungle. I would be deep in the jungle, and I would be surrounded by other incredible musicians, and we would just have a jam sesh in the jungle, and we'd listen to the sounds of animals and the silence or the buzz, and we would collaborate with nature. Ew, that's so fun.
I love a jungle. Little panther jumping out. Cute.
Yeah. Yeah, I identify with like, a Siberian tiger. So
Oh, there
that's
you
the
go.
vibe.
Love that.
Yeah, or
So
one of them goats that's always just like randomly on the side of a mountain.
oh my god, how
They're
do they
just like
balance?
sat on the tip.
How do I don't understand. I don't and because they're big. They're not like cute little they're big
No,
girls.
yeah,
Like
but like what a vibe. Just like perched on this fucking little point, just like looking at the view, being like up there for like the tiniest tuft of grass, but it's like the best grass. You know what I mean? Like
what
it's your favorite grass.
what a good lesson and like analogy for life. You got to stand on the side of a cliff where you could fall at any minute, but you're going up there for the best grass you know, and you just got to trust that you're going to be fine.
And 9 times out of 10, you are, because that's what you were built for. That's what those goats were
Exactly.
built for. That's why they can do it. And that's why we can do this shit. It's what we're
Yeah.
built for. We're built for possibility. And to like throw it back to Barbie, Barbie represents possibility.
Yeah.
That is her gang. That's her kick. That's her shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She said, "You can do anything. You can be anything. The possibilities are fucking endless." And we're out here hiking this mountain, and sometimes we're alone, and sometimes we're with our clique, and like it doesn't matter if we continue to climb. And and for me, I'm just letting go of all of the things that don't serve me, people, places, and things. Like these things don't serve me. They don't bring me joy. They don't bring me happiness. I'm on my way to that dope ass tuft of grass at the top of the fucking mountain. That's where I'm at. I'm vibing. I'm vibing on the side of a mountain. Just
I'm gonna insert a little video of one of those goats because they're an inspiration. They're an inspiration
they
to us all.
they
God. Well,
are. I see videos and I'm just like, slay queen.
I don't even know what type of goat they are. I need to find out their entire like scientific breakdown now. I'm
Right.
gonna look
I
into it.
think like we just know them as mountain goats.
Yeah, but they're like the special kind that tippy toe on
Yeah.
a little like freaking inch, little inch of rock. They're like,
Just balanced.
hey. Yeah. Oh,
Dang.
love, love. Well, thank you so, so much. This was
Yeah.
fab. Adore
You're
you as
wonderful.
always. And can you let everybody know where they can find you on social medias?
On the internet.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I have Instagram. My Instagram is my name, Alexandra Shipp, but it's with 4 P's because when I like joined Instagram, someone had already stolen my 2 P's.
That's
And I
rude.
was like, it was a hate crime. It was a hate crime.
Yeah.
That's all I
No,
did.
it's rude. It's
So
rude.
Alexandra Shipp with 4 P's.
Cute. Yay. Well, thank you. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye.